The world is watching, and the pressure is rising. What if I told you that, right now, behind diplomatic smiles and carefully measured statements, a political storm is brewing that could shake Brazil's economy to the core? Senators Lindsey Graham and Richard Blumenthal, representing both sides of the political aisle, are united in pushing for one of the most aggressive sanction packages in recent U.S. history. And Brazil is in the crowd. Do you believe Brazil should break ties with Russia to avoid U.S. retaliation? Or should it stay loyal to the BRICS alliance, even at the risk of economic damage? After more than 2 years of conflict, hundreds of billions in military aid, and diplomatic stalemates, the U.S. government is no longer content to target Russia alone. By purchasing Russian oil, fertilizers, and raw materials, they're injecting cash into the Russian economy. Cash that Putin allegedly turns into tanks, drones, and missiles. Now, the goal is to strike at the support network that is keeping Russia afloat. If passed, it would give President Donald Trump sweeping powers to impose tariffs and sanctions at his discretion up to 500% without needing new congressional approval each time. Essentially, a geopolitical battering ram. This bill is being Graham said it could go to a vote before the upcoming legislative recess. The senators aren't merely trying to punish Russia. They're trying to force neutral or non-aligned countries to choose a side. In this case, Brazil must either step back from its economic ties with Russia or face harsh punishment from its second-largest trading partner, the United States. Or does he back away from Russia and risk rupturing the fragile balance within BRICS, possibly angering China and India as well? On the other, you have the US and the EU, still the dominant global trade powers. Products that are competitive today would become unsellable tomorrow. The Brazilian agricultural sector could be hit hard, as could the energy and manufacturing industries. Trump, despite his often contradictory stance on international conflicts, is reportedly preparing to release additional defensive weapons and funds to Kyiv. For 6 months, Trump tried to keep the door open for diplomacy. But now, according to Graham, that door is closing fast. And once it shuts, it won't reopen without conditions that force Russia to pull back. Either path carries serious risks, economic, diplomatic, and political. And no matter what choice is made, it will send ripples far beyond Brazil's borders. So now I ask you again, what should Brazil do? Is neutrality even possible in a polarized world like this? Or is it time for the country to pick a side and accept the cost? He has also in talks to convert over $5 billion in frozen Russian assets into a fund to aid Ukraine, something European allies are also considering. This is one of the most important debates of our time. Don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who needs to understand what's happening, and of course, subscribe for more deep analysis like this. The world is changing fast, and we need to stay ahead of it. Together, jobs, GDP, and international credibility are all on the line. And then there's the matter of Brazil's global image. Or will he pivot toward the West to avoid economic disaster? Being labeled as a nation that indirectly supports the Russian invasion would have serious consequences on the world stage. It could sour relations with NATO countries, delay international agreements, and complicate Brazil's ambitions in areas like trade, climate, diplomacy, and technology partnerships. The Brazilian government is now caught in a geopolitical tug-of-war. If it passes, Trump could use it immediately against nations deemed enablers of Putin's war. And the list starts with China, India, and Brazil. That means secondary sanctions. That means punishing countries that continue to do business with Moscow. That means Brazil. Its trade choices are no longer seen as just business. They're being treated as political statements with real-world consequences. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Brazilian agribusiness relies heavily on Russian fertilizers, and energy deals with Russia are seen by some in the government as pragmatic, not political. However, in the eyes of us lawmakers, commerce is never neutral. Money flowing to Moscow is viewed as fuel for Putin's war machine, whether the intentions are economic or not, because we're going to follow this story as it develops. And trust me, it will. If Brazil does not stop importing Russian oil, gas, and fertilizers, it could face brutal economic consequences, including tariffs of up to 500% on Brazilian exports to the United States. That's on top of the 50% tariffs already announced. A threat has been issued, not from a rogue state or a fringe actor, but from the very heart of Washington, D.C., where powerful U.S. senators are preparing a legislative sledgehammer aimed directly at Brazil. Why? Because they believe Brazil is helping perhaps unintentionally, to finance Vladimir Putin's war machine in Ukraine. This is not speculation. It's a warning delivered openly on American national television. Let that sink in for a moment. This isn't just about politics. This is about soybeans, steel, beef, coffee, the backbone of Brazil's export economy. This is about Brazilian workers, companies, and farmers. And most of all, it is about decisions being made in today that could define the country's trajectory for years, if not decades. So before we go deeper, I want to hear from you. Drop your opinion in the comments below. Now, let's go behind the scenes of this growing crisis. It started with a statement by Senator Lindsey Graham, who said that the US has reached a tipping point in the war in Ukraine. According to Graham, countries like Brazil, China, and India are indirectly keeping Putin's invasion alive. Graham and Blumenthal's proposed bill already has the support of over 85 US senators, a massive bipartisan coalition. But what exactly is Brazil doing to trigger such fury? To be clear, Brazil hasn't sent weapons to Russia. It hasn't openly supported the invasion of Ukraine. What it has done is continue trading. That's where the US position becomes both aggressive and complex. And this presents a nightmare scenario for Brazilian leadership. On one side, you have BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, a coalition meant to offer an alternative to the Western economic order. Does President Lula maintain BRICS solidarity and risk a trade war with the US? It's not just a diplomatic dilemma, it's an economic bomb. A 500% tariff would devastate certain export sectors. On the other side, the US is making moves to escalate support for Ukraine. Graham says this could be the turning point. He claims that Putin miscalculated Trump's patience. So, here we are. At a crossroads. Brazil, whether it intended to or not, is now a player in this conflict. And the question remains, what will Lula do? Will he risk a major fallout with the United States in order to preserve strategic autonomy and BRICS unity? It's a high-stakes decision, and there may be no perfect outcome. Let us know in the comments.